You know, the past few weeks got me thinking. I've been doing top 10 lists for a while, and the past month had me looking at the top 10 of many things in the year and the decade. So I wondered, how about something a bit different? Perhaps it's time to put out something a bit more personal for you. I've been busy coming up with these lists, and I think it's high time I came up with something more candid and personalized to share with you. After all, being in the anime community for so many years has made me realize that the community is one that grows through people getting closer and knowing each other better. While I've shared some of my opinions through those top 10 lists, I think the lists are constrained with some criteria. Following the tradition of people making their top anime lists as we enter a new decade, this time I present to you my top 10 favorite anime from this past decade. Yep, no hard categories, no criteria, no qualifications, just an open sharing of the shows that have either impressed me, touched my heart, or opened my eyes to new horizons for the past few years. Where do I start with Mob Psycho? At the midpoint of the decade, One Punch Man was the hottest thing in town, featuring an excellent mix of superhero action and comedy. It was great, but it's one's other title, Mob Psycho 100, that really caught my eye. By this point, everyone already knows about the famed animation of the Mob Psycho anime, but it's hardly the main reason I put it on my personal favorites list. In addition to the renowned animation, I think Mob Psycho is a show with a great mixture of comedy and substance. It's relatable, and I can resonate with the protagonist's growth as the story goes on. Looking at the main character Mob, we've all been in this situation, right? Yep, just minus the superpowers, transformations, and the things that spice up anime as a whole. But that's the beauty of anime and fantasy now, isn't it? The theme of relatable life crossing paths with fantasy and destiny continues with my next pick, Your Name. This decade's seen anime breaking into the mainstream, and a large part of it is due to anime movies. And I don't mean tie-in movies to popular shows, since we probably have a billion One Piece, Naruto or Pokemon movies already. A good part of the decade has been marked by the release of blockbusters by famed directors, and Your Name is at the forefront. Years ago, Your Name kicked off a revolution and took the world by storm. All of a sudden, anime movies were mainstream, and people, even those who've not watched anime before, took notice of this medium that boldly stood beside the giants and blockbusters of Hollywood. And why not? If the statement anime is art was given a material form, Your Name would be it. Your Name is Makoto Shinkai's best work in my opinion. It intertwines reality and fantasy very, very well. It isn't groundbreaking in terms of writing, but visually, it's one of the prettiest anime films out there. The story's narrative does an excellent job of connecting us, the audience, to its endearing characters. For many, Your Name's their gateway to the world of anime movies and Makoto Shinkai, and it's as good of a gateway as you can get.
俺と西宮友達になれるかな
For everything I just said about Your Name, it's not even my favorite anime movie from the past decade actually. That title goes to the KyoAni production, A Silent Voice. For me, this movie's easily my favorite in recent memory because of how close to home its themes are. There's a great drama and an even greater redemption story that revolves around what we see in life regularly. I mean, how often do you see anime dive headfirst into bullying and its many forms, as well as a young boy's struggle of redemption? That's not even getting to the more mechanical aspects of the movie, such as the beautiful art and visuals. The film isn't afraid to make you feel emotions a lot of other movies and stories are too afraid to touch. I hope you find the time to experience this one for yourself. You know what isn't aesthetically pleasing? People being eaten by fellow humans with the capability to transform into alien monstrosities. Parasite's actually the adaptation of quite an old series. Before the wave of old-school adaptations that included Dororo and Ben, there was Parasite, arguably one of the thematically strongest anime in its time, masterfully weaving together the concept of body horror, an environmental message, and high-octane action, makes Parasite a true winner in my eyes. Of course, many people back then probably remember Parasite for its dubstep soundtrack, but overall, I'd say it's an exciting anime that holds up to the new decade. It may not be as culturally significant as some of its brethren in 2014, but this is an action horror anime that I wouldn't want you to miss. The story of the growing bond between Shinichi and Migi is something that would always stay with me in the years to come. Speaking of tooth-clenched teamwork, let me introduce you to the next anime in line, Vinland Saga. A story about Vikings fueled by a boy's quest for revenge. There are many ways Vinland Saga could have sputtered and become an afterthought after a few episodes. The hype was there, and as they say, the higher you are, the harder you fall. Thankfully, Vinland Saga's delivered since its first episode. Personally, my favourite part of the series has to be the character dynamics. Past that, I'd also like to direct everyone's attention to its storytelling. As I said before, it's a graphic story of war that pulls no punches in presenting the catastrophic realities of such an event. It helps that it's also got some historical elements, so you history buffs, here's an anime for you. It's too bad that so many are sleeping on Vinland Saga. It may not have blown up like Demon Slayer, but I firmly believe that it had all the makings of an anime epic that could very well be the best show of 2019. As a last note, Askeladd's easily one of my top 3 characters of 2019. If you prefer something more casual and closer to our neighborhood, starring a blonde hothead, perhaps this next pick will be more to your liking. Rarely do you see anime that go all the way in presenting different perspectives of a topic. I like the different point of view storytelling in the anime, as for me, it's one of the key points that makes it unique. Quentin Tarantino is my favorite Hollywood director, and I feel like his style of storytelling can be seen in Ryogo Narita's work. Despite being disappointed by its ending, Durarara still holds a place in my heart. I love everything about it. In particular, I think it shines in how it delivers its character arcs. Pretty much everyone relevant is interesting, and I liked how the characters were written and developed as the series goes on. At least the characters in Durarara are still easy to keep track of, unlike the ones in the anthology series, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's certainly one of the things that would prove daunting to uninitiated people trying to get into JoJo. The long narrative and amount of characters might be daunting, and if they aren't, perhaps the over-the-top bizarreness of the series could deter people from trying it out. That's a crying shame, really, because JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, all of those long seasons of it, is for me one of the most entertaining chronicles out there. Not to say that the plot and characters lack depth, but if I were to talk JoJo, I'd put entertainment right at the top. The series and characters are so over the top and creative, you gotta wonder how they keep getting ideas for this. From creative references to visual techniques, JoJo is truly a work of art. The memes speak for themselves. Newbies might be deterred from catching up to the series, but its huge fan base is more than enough to give it one hell of a staying power. Trust me, okay? You won't be hearing the last of JoJo references anytime soon. It may be ending, but at least it's formally made its mark on anime history. I was there when it first aired, and it instantly broke anime into the mainstream, thanks to its gritty tone, cynical atmosphere, and lack of things that typically deter normie viewers from anime. Attack on Titan put anime on the map. Remember the Demon Slayer fever a few months back? That was Attack on Titan in 2013, but I'm telling you, their surge was even bigger. I think Attack on Titan simply got better and better as it went on. From a suspenseful story of human survival and standing up against all odds, it evolved and explored new frontiers. So for me, Part 2 of Season 3 is the best sequel anime of 2019, and the manga's also currently at its peak too. With the decisive battle against the major titans now behind us, we await what's to come as the series marches towards a triumphant conclusion this year. In contrast to AOT and its anticipated ending, the next anime, my second favourite of the decade, works with a foregone conclusion. I'm talking about Gen Urobuchi's magnum opus during his peak years in the early part of the decade, Fate Zero. Being given the reins to write the prequel to the ever-popular Fate Stay Night, the Uro Butcher did it the only way he can, with a dark, gripping story that's thematically great with awesome characters, resulting in the best entry in the Fate series for me. That's not even mentioning the moral ambiguity that people have praised the series for. The writing is stellar and the action is on another level for an early 2010 show. It also gave us Archer Gilgamesh in his full glory, one of the best villains in Fate. The endings are Uro Butcher trademark in his mastery of writing tragedy. We knew that the ending was a foregone conclusion, given how Fate Stay Night turned out, but it still hurt when I first saw it. 2017 may be the year of Fate, but before Grand Order took the world by storm, before Ufotable's UBW, and before Heaven's Feel, Fate Zero already set the tone and benchmark for the Fate series going forward. Things are looking up for Type Moon's cash cow franchise, and I personally believe that Fate Zero's success at the start of the decade definitely had something to do with it. Here we are, one final slot to go. I'd like to introduce you to my favorite anime this decade. It goes to a show that's not even originally from this decade. I'm talking about the 2011 remake of Hunter x Hunter. Where do I start with Hunter x Hunter? For one, Togashi's a true genius when it comes to characterization and character development. I'll say this, Hunter x Hunter has my favorite villain, fight, and shonen arc. It's an amazing series that trumps all other anime for me. When have you ever seen an anime maintain its quality throughout the years, even with its numerous genre shifts? It starts simple, but the escalation of stakes and scale is on point. Everything comes to a pinnacle in the Chimera Ant arc, the greatest arc in shonen anime, with its characters and plot development. All this talk about writing could have undermined the 2011 version's visuals and sound, but even those are spot on. The visuals are crisp and amazing, and it's a key reason that the 2011 version is as good as it is. Now, if only Togashi would hurry up and get back to the manga consistently. His work's too awesome to not be finished in our lifetime. With that, I conclude my list. For me, these 10 anime have gone beyond everything else to claim their spot as my favorite animes of the decade. I want to know your personal list and see if there are any shows that we share, so make sure to leave your comments and tell me which anime are your favorite from the past decade. Who knows, you might meet a new friend on the comment section while you're at it. Wishing you a happy 2020, till next time.